Hi, everybody. So I wasn't going to do a morning show this morning, but then Steph told everybody I was, so I felt bad that I would leave you hanging. So I just decided to jump in and say hi and throw a couple of stories across your transom there. Not the least of which is the part that I was referring to. And by the way, hi, chat room. Hello, good morning. Hit the like right away. Make that a habit. As soon as you show up at the show, if you're a regular on any of the shows, even though this is an irregular show, good point. Good point. I hear you. I take that point. I get it. If you hit the like, it helps us with the with our surfing across the algorithm. I don't know, whatever. 60K. That's right. Pow. Oh, six. We like, I don't know why that bridge was hard to cross, but I feel like now we're gonna get there. So 60, I've got to come up with some sort of 60 seems a very strange number to have some sort of a celebration, but I'll figure out something by the afternoon. But we're also I'm gonna try and redouble my efforts to try and build the show because I realize now that there are other shows that I'm giving a lift to, as you know, some of the people that have been joining us, for example, as regular guests and the like, and I can. You got to be a strong dog to pull a sled that big. So the point is that I need to, I need to go to 66.6K. That'll be the big celebration. We'll figure out something for that. But yeah, it's yes. Now the goal is 100K because again, if I can build up what I have here, then I am able to extend that goodwill to other people and bring them forward, or that when I do, it has more impact. That's it, right? So I'm very excited about that possibility, and I'm going to work very hard at that. So our next goal is, of course, 101,000, which is 1,000 Patreons and 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. And then, of course, at some point we'll have to get 1,000 subscribers on Twitch. So I think that should also be a thing. And then I guess we could try and line them all up because I'm a Libra. 100,000 on the Facebook page, followers on the Facebook page, because I think we're close to 90 or something like that. So that's the thing. Thank you for finally clearing that 60. I feel like a logjam broke. So there we go. Real numbers. I'm only interested in real numbers. I don't want Trump numbers, and I don't want rusty trombone numbers. Just saying. Will you twerk now that you have 60K? I'll have you know that there's one of the reasons why you only see me from the waist up on the show is because I'm always twerking. I'm the I am to twerking what Bruce Banner is to the Hulk, becoming the Hulk. Or to anger, I guess. Okay, so can I give a kidney the super chat? I don't know if the kidney would want it. But it might. I don't know. We'll find out. Russian chat is wild. I agree. Yes, in our country, you troll them. No, all right. So I really want to show you this real quick. This is Rudy Giuliani outside of the courtroom where he is going to be on trial for Well, he's already been found guilty of defaming Rose Freeman and Shay Moss, and now it's just a matter of how much he's going to have to pay them. And what did he do right when he came out on the stoop? His big dummy. Why is it not playing? Play, you silly thing. You silly doggy. Oh, it's probably because of hold on. All right, back to you guys, and then I'll grab this and I'll put it in another. And then we'll go up to here, and then I'll grab a thing over here, and I'll try to do this or whatever, and then we'll try to pull this up. There you go. That's my sensitive classified document, the PDF viewer. Where is my... I need an enormous mouse. Hello. Okay, here we go. I'll pop this in here. Aced. Excellent. Turn. And then we'll squeeze this down here. And then we'll drag this over here. And then I think it will probably play. Yeah, when it's in this one. We'll see. Here we go.
Whatever happened to them, which is It's unfortunate if other people overreact, but everything I said about them is true.
Do you regret what you did to Ruby?
Of course
Freeman?
I don't regret it. I told the truth. They were engaged in changing votes.
There's no proof of that.
Oh, you're damn right there is. Stay tuned.
Yeah. Oh, you're damn right there is. Stay tuned. Yes, stay tuned as this asshole gets another third tacked onto the money he has to pay them. You got to understand, like Shamos and Ruby Freeman more than likely are going to have to move, change their name. They had to sell their house and move anyways. Basically they're in witness relocation, like civilian witness relocation for the rest of their lives because of this asshole. Now, hold on, let me grab this real quick. One of the other news stories not necessarily shown. Let me see if I can drag this down here, and so it's a little bit better. Again, this is a quickie. If you know what I'm saying. Quit it. Drag this down. There we go. Is this guy right here? So there was an intelligence briefing that was, document that was declassified, that said that the one thing that it is being successful at is eroding, in the public opinion, support for Ukraine. They've been digging at this for a long time, and it's having, some genuine on the ground effects. However, that has not changed the tide of the actual war. And they keep losing 1,000 people a day just around Avdiivka, much less the other areas where they're losing ground. So again, this is, I think, the most astounding part. Since the beginning of the war, Russia has suffered from a staggeringly high number of losses, according to another newly declassified document. At the start of the war, the Russian army stood at 360,000 troops. 360,000 fighters went into Russia. 315,000 of those people are dead. 315,000 dead Russians because Vladimir Putin decided apropos of nothing to attack Ukraine. If there has ever been a greater example of fuck around and find out, this is it. Yeah, and triple that with wounded. Yeah. Although they just send their wounded back to battle, so they have walking wounded. Think about all the numbers of people that like I said, the highest number you've heard about the deaths in Gaza. And then understand that Russia has lost 100 times that. Yeah, I got shamed into a stream. I didn't get shamed into it. I just felt bad that you guys wouldn't, that she said I would be on and then I'm not normally on. So, yeah. So there you go. You get a bonus one because Steph doesn't know my schedule after all these years. After how close we have become. It's very difficult sometimes when people just don't remember. They don't remember, guys. They don't remember, okay? Okay. This is the other one. This story. Let's see if I can blow this up a little bit because it's fairly hilarious, and I want you to be able to see the title of this one. Check this out. If this is oh God, this one just hits me in the feels in the weirdest way. Bidenomics is a big hit outside the U.S. Literally, other European countries are cribbing from Biden's economic strategy. The president's signature climate law, with its massive subsidies and push for domestic manufacturing, has leaders across the UK, Australia, and Europe scrambling to follow suit. But American voters seem unimpressed. You know why? Because they've got it, because they don't recognize it through the cush compared to other people and other countries. Bidenomics is falling flat with American voters, but the rest of the world can't get enough of it. The mammoth climate law that serves as the linchpin of President Joe Biden's economics program, which I wouldn't say it is. Bidenomics is not just the environmental part of it. It's just, that's weird. I would argue that If anything, infrastructure, union job support, and this idea that of reshoring manufacturing to shorten supply chains is primarily what Bidenomics is at this point. Yeah. The mammoth climate law that serves as the linchpin of New Zealand around the world for the kind of winter-picking, subsidy-flushed governing that has been out of fashion in many countries for the last 40 years. The Inflation Reduction Act's mix of lavish support for clean energy technologies and efforts to box out foreign competitors is also promoting a kind of green patriotism. And even some politicians on the right, at least outside the US, say that's a climate message they can sell. It's probably the most impressive piece of legislation in my lifetime. Ex-diplomat Marc-Andre Blanchard, an executive at Canada's biggest pension fund, told Politico at the sprawling venue of the COP28 UN climate talks in Dubai. That may provide little political comfort to Biden, as multiple polls show him losing economic messaging war to former President Donald Trump. His most likely opponent next year's presidential election. Meh. Some polls show that Americans have heard a little or nothing about the IRA since Biden signed it a year ago. That's because Americans have a very short window, and selling it right now will happen in fits and starts. And then when you get close to the election, that's the thing they're going to sell the most for like 3 months straight. They will be hammering the shit out of it. But if you do it now, you kind of blow your wad and you help the Republicans build up their opposition to it. Anyone tell Hal Tuesday? No, Steph mentioned that I was going to be on the air and I wasn't planning on, so I'm just doing a quick show. All right? God damn it. It's going to be a half hour. I'm out. All right. Now, one of the other stories that I wanted to cover is what's going on in Sudan. And there was a very odd thing where Sudan is kicking out like 15 UAE diplomats because they were shipping weapons to Sudan for the rebels. Allegations that UAE provided arms to a paramilitary group in Sudan have triggered a spat with the army and risk undermining a new initiative to end the African nation's 8-month civil war, which, by the way, is not 8 months. It's this current flare-up is 8 months. It's been going on for quite a long time. 3 Sudanese diplomats based in the UAE have been reported persona non grata, and 15 Emirati embassy employees ordered out of Sudan over the past week in the wake of the accusations. The feud comes as just as East African mediators claim a breakthrough in talks between the military and rival rapid support forces to quell fighting that's killed more than 12,000 people and sparked a refugee crisis. By the way, this whole like breakthrough in talks is just that they had the 2 generals who used to serve under the previous leader, who are now leading the opposition forces against each other and are effectively fueling the civil war, have agreed to talk. Maybe. Anyways, yeah, that's Al Burhan, and then the other guy has a weird nickname. Anyways, so I mean, it's just horrifying. Yeah, 25 million people need aid, and yeah, there's the other guy, Dagalo. He's like these 2 guys. The idea is that they're gonna meet and settle this, which is just, quite frankly, fucking ridiculous. Unless you're going to have you're going to divide, you're going to have South Sudan as another country, and then you're going to have like Sudan divided into East and West Sudan, but nobody wants to give up Darfur. So what are you going to have, like middle Sudan and North Sudan, Central Sudan? That's what they're talking about. Like it's gross. Anyways, that's ongoing, and the world shrugs, except me. And I just felt like some of these things, I feel like I'm shouting into a hurricane about this, but there you go. And then one more thing. Let's see. We'll go to pulling something up. It's so funny. Like I don't. Yeah. So there's a couple things. One. Well, I'll show you these in a row. Like, because this again. I don't do this just to show how right I've been, um, but I have been. Hold on. Yeah. Okay, here you go. This is okay. Well, I'll show you this. Hold on. This is how stupid. Remember how Trump's always talking about how smart Xi Jinping is, and he rules 1.4 billion people with an iron fist, and that makes you smart, which is the opposite of smart. You don't have to be smart to do that. You just have to be cruel and violent and belligerent and stupid and single-minded, which is not smart in the long term, looking back at history. Okay, China's economy is heading into deeper deflation, meaning that prices are going down and yet no one is buying anything. And that means there's a couple reasons for that. One is there are a lot more dead people from COVID than they want to admit. So they want to act like, instead of admitting that there are 20 to 30 million fewer people in the big cities buying stuff because they're no longer alive, and that their efforts to get people out of poverty were effectively a cruel joke. Because again, if you made $400 a year, you're in poverty. But if you make $401, you're no longer in poverty. That was the standard. There was no, cost of living balance, available goods, none of that stuff. It's just a flat number, which is stupid. So this is their problem. Our inflation has effectively evened out at about 3.1% over what the generalized cost of production. Theirs has deflated because they have a bunch of useless shit sitting around. Hence Timu. Hence they're attempting to build these like weird alliances with other desperate countries so they can dump goods on them, mainly the Russians. The Russians are getting a lot of like bad toys and leftover knockoff shit because they just got to move it someplace. Prices in China continued to fall during November as the People's Republic slips into a deflationary funk. Deflation is a manifestation of the deep problems within the world's second largest economy. And again, I question the world's second largest economy the same way that we thought Russia was the world's second biggest military. That turned out to be bullshit. This is too. The big picture, China's economy has stumbled as it tried to emerge from the government's zero COVID lockdown policies. And again, it stumbled because it was carrying the weight of immovable debt and a farcical real estate sector. It's a fucking cartoon. The country is also facing a massive housing bust, the rapid outflow of capital, that's everybody fucking off, and a loss of confidence among both domestic businesses and consumers who are uncertain about Xi Jinping's commitment to economic growth. Is that what it is? It's not that they don't have any money and no one's buying shit from any there, and all the companies that made those areas rich don't trust the government or the business people in that country anymore, so they're leaving, and not just us. It's that consumers are uncertain about President Xi Jinping's commitment to economic. Yes, but while most of the decline in prices was driven by swings in the volatile food and energy categories, the underlying core inflation reading was also unimpressive. China's core CPI was up 0.6% year over year, essentially flat. By the way, those are numbers presented by them based on nothing. No one is allowed to verify those numbers. In the US, you can verify those numbers. You can check them. Don't believe me? Talk to anybody on fucking Wall Street or tied to any one of these like investment companies. They have 3 or 10 different ways of checking how many goods are made and shipped out, what consumers are spending on, what Amazon's numbers are, because the stock market makes it so that large retail organizations tell their stockholders what sales were like, what costs were like, and all that kind of stuff. So that's available. The government aggregates it, but it is not the only aggregating service, and so you don't have to just trust them. In China, you just have to fucking trust them. And if you try to look, you'll find out you have a gravity allergy, not unlike a Russian oligarch who starts going, "Fuck, are we doing in Ukraine again?" Yeah. So this is so fucking funny. The lingering softness. It sounds like they're selling toilet paper. The lingering softness in core CPI and its absorption. And it's just, all right. Suggested domestic consumer demand conditions may have remained weak. May have remained weak, wrote JP Morgan analysts of the recent report on prices. May have? May have. May have remained weak. May have. Say may have again. Say may have. Say may have remained weak after knowing the numbers you know. Say it again. Ugh. Core CPI inflation remained weak, likely reflecting sluggish domestic economic momentum, Jesus Christ, in the near term. Oh yeah? What's the long-term bailout situation, dum-dum? Such deep issues in an economy this large will ripple out into world markets. Yes, lots of other countries will fill the void. If shit needs to be made and sold, they'll make it and sell it. And they no longer have to compete with slave labor in China to do it. So the prices of things will go up a little bit. But again, consider it an anti-slavery tax. And if you have a problem with it, I don't know what's wrong with you. Yeah, it will. That's right. It will go to India. Sorry, Marcia, I made you crave cake. I'll try and make a coffee cake version of them. For example, the recent weakness in global crude oil prices. What? I thought we need to drill, baby, drill because energy prices are through the fucking roof. Is closely tied to the sputtering economy of the People's Republic, the world's largest importer of oil. You read that right. See, if you listen to Donald Trump, you'd think that's America. You know, we're at the whim of everybody, and oh God, we're even having to get oil from Venezuela, right? And their tar is being processed at one place in Texas, which is apparently a government facility, according to this asshole, right? Meanwhile, Mexico is our biggest trading partner. Here you go. This is you want to watch the sucker match? Here you go. Look, I have to pause this. But this is the 2-year, 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, and 30-year bond. The 2-year is short because that it like went up a little bit. It's at 2.4% because people are still buying this bullshit on a retail level. Large groups are just going, well, okay, we'll put a little bit here and a little bit there. And the next year, they're in such shit, it has to go up a little bit. But long term, everybody's like, this place is fucked. Ugh. And again, I just want you guys to remember this when someone tries to point out that apparently, a year ago during the whole de-dollarization thing and during the whole China's gonna eat our lunch fucking conversation, Luis, I agree. There's effectively that's what the price increase is. This is what stuff really costs if slaves don't pick the cotton and slaves don't sew shit or assemble things. Yeah. Only when you use slavery can you have Temu-like prices. So happy shopping. That said, Chinese leaders consider next steps for economy as debt and deflation cloud outlook for coming year. Yeah. And here's the thing, you're not late, Ali Osher. I'm just magically doing a show. And I've only got like 5 more minutes left, and then I got to bug out. I just want you to look at this stuff when you see it in the news, and remember what I told you a year ago, and what I've been telling you all along about the Chinese myth, and at least know that it comes from people with a deep and abiding love for the Chinese people and their culture, which is being swamped by these besuited dickheads who are just, that looks like, honest to God, that looks like the USSR in the fucking 70s. There is nothing alive of the Chinese culture in anything the CCP does. Nothing. They just absorbed old Soviet systems and yeah, and became besuited dickheads. Yes. Look at that shit. If you didn't know that everybody there was Chinese, would you know that this was the government of China? That any of their history mattered to them? That any of the culture? And it is this is a racially homogenous country for the most part. At least they want you to think so. Yeah, they are destroying Chinese culture. Meanwhile, by the way, this keeps popping up. Hey, remember when when Biden took over and the Dow was supposed to crash? It was supposed to hit like 2,000. Remember, he threw around weird numbers like, people say it's going to go down 2,000. I think it's going to hit 2,000. it's going to go down that far. It's going to crash, the crashy crash, and oil is going to be $200 a barrel. Right. Um, yeah. This is the guy, by the way, that Trump says there's no actor in Hollywood that could play him. I'm sure there are Chinese actors who could absolutely pull it off, but why would you want to? What? I don't understand. He throws around this weird central casting idea, or maybe he's just kissing Xi's ass on his looks because he knows he's sensitive about it. I think that's probably it. I mean, because this is a guy who gets mad when people compare him to Winnie the Pooh, and it's very dangerous in China to post a Winnie the Pooh meme about this dude because everybody thinks his face looks like Winnie the Pooh, and that's it's a running gag over there, right? But so he's very sensitive about it. So maybe Trump is just kissing his ass and calling him a good-looking guy because he's still hoping to buy, he bought the dip and is sitting, right? Yeah. Meanwhile, mm-hmm. Yeah, like this is yeah, this doesn't look anything like a metal version of every other. Oh, never mind. Okay, a man adjusts his bag of purchased goods as visitors tour at a Nanjing pedestrian shopping street in Shanghai. I've been to that place. On November 25th, 2023, Chinese leaders have wrapped up a 2-day annual meeting. Yeah, this guy, this was when they're all buying iPhones when they lined up for that. Yeah, incredibly crowded for the pictures that are released, provided by the Associated Press. Yeah, taken by, with photo clearance by the CCP. Yeah. Anyways, the economy has been slowing from its past double-digit growth for years and is forecast to have expanded at about 5% annual pace this year, in line with the government's target. Most estimates suggest it will slow further next year. By the way, I would like to say, just for the record, and I'm comfortable going on record, that entire paragraph is bullshit. It's not even close to true. That expansion is not growth, especially when, again, you're slathering it out. This is look, if you're a family of 4 and you have 4 cars and your neighbor has 4 cars and they have a family of 1,000, do you have equal wealth and growth ability and the ability to get to work, even if all the seats are full? Literally, the family of 4 with 4 cars, which is the United States, can, if 3 out of 4 of the cars break down, everybody can still get in one car and go to work. I don't grasp. Meanwhile, they could say something like this: as economy has been slowing from its past double-digit growth, which was, again, a farce. Last week, Moody's Investor Service downgraded China's sovereign debt rating as the country's real estate crisis seeps into local governments and private financing. Okay, the crisis did not seep into local governments and private financing. It is a problem of private financing by local governments. Because the whole real estate farce was built on the idea that they would loan land to these local government financial vehicles and then pay taxes back to themselves on the money they would get for doing that. And then these developers would come in and sell the idea that there was eventually going to be an apartment or property on there and then never finish the fucking things. China has tipped into deflation in recent months, another sign of weakness. Meanwhile, we have mild inflation. There you go. Trump is like a bull in America's China shop, just break everything. Yeah, it's because that's what you do when you're angry and stupid. I mean, Trump is to some degree Frankenstein's monster, put together by a bunch of people and easily driven to anger because he panics. Wholesale or producer prices have fallen year on year for all of 2023, dipping to a low of minus 5.4% in June. Consumer price inflation has hovered near 0% and below in annual terms since April. Now, let me be abundantly clear. This is not accidental entirely. This was okay. There was a period, if you guys will recall, and let me know if I'm boring you, chat room. Um, let me run something by you. There was remember the game of chicken between Russia and Saudi Arabia to drive down oil prices, that was basically designed to hamstring the natural gas expansion in the United States. You remember that? Because energy companies, the same energy companies that did oil, were now moving into shale and fracking and natural gas. And so Saudi Arabia and the OPEC, kind of using OPEC plus, but it was mainly the two of them in Russia, decided to drive prices down so much for oil that it hurt them, but it would kill the natural gas sector, because all of these oil companies in the United States wouldn't have the extra money to expand into this fracking thing. And it would, the fracking is expensive. The finding the places and setting it up is, once it's running, it's almost nonstop. That's why it's cheaper ultimately. But it's a big front end investment. And so to kill that front end investment, the Saudis and the Russians colluded to drive down oil prices, specifically so that they couldn't be outpaced. And it didn't work, and shale became so functional. We needed natural gas for in here and in Mexico and in Canada. We had more of it. The process happened a lot faster than people thought it did. As a matter of fact, it happened so fast it caused earthquakes in places. And so they've kind of tempered the release of the gas, and they've trying to spread it out over a broader area, right? But it was happening so fast. They're like, fuck, these guys are going to swamp us in another year. So they actively created a manipulation of supply to drive down prices as an economic competition strategy, okay? China is doing the exact same thing with American retailers like Amazon. That they are referring to Temu as the Amazon killer. By the way, they also referred to Alibaba as the Amazon killer, and it didn't work. Neither is Temu, because Temu is Wish 2.0. But they're trying for it. And one of the reasons why this whole producer prices year on year have been dipping so low, and why there's a lot of squeal among the workers in China, those that can say anything. But the reason why the actual production people, the what would effectively be the equivalent of Chinese oligarchs in the country that run the manufacturing areas, why they're not bitching about it is because they know this is a strategy that the CCP is trying that is akin to that oil strategy, where they will drive prices down on cheap consumer goods and try to unload them onto the American people, undercutting, right as we're trying to bring manufacturing back, right as, toy manufacturing and plastics. Because again, if you move oil to the United States and we start keeping more of our own, which is why we need people to be driving electric cars. Once you get commuter cars, largely electric, you have a lot of leftover oil that you don't need to pump, and you can stop pumping, but you can also make plastics from it and by producing at a lower rate. And when you do that here, setting up plastics plants to make toys and consumer goods that are made of plastic is way easier. And they've got to kill that in the crib. That's what this is about. The workers are getting fucked in China, but the guys who actually run the factories are just getting guanchi. They're just getting payments to stop bitching. But that's the important thing. I got to tell you about this. The property sector, a major source of demand for any major economy. Again, in the United States, it's somewhere in the order of 18 to 20% fluctuating. In China, it's well over 40%, probably 38% minimum. And again, that's what they're admitting. That's they're admitting. Which if they're admitting 36 to 38%, it's more like 50. It's so dumb. And again, this is more about how Trump's like, this guy's smart. He's a smart guy. Very smart guy. He's not smart. He's about as smart as a Nazi camp guard at Auschwitz. He's smart enough to know that his position is maintained by nobody escaping or getting out without his permission, or giving him the graft that he needs to feather his own nest. That's it. It is mildly clever at times, but it relies on the weakness and fear of a majority of people. It's bankruptcy smart, right? King of debt. I'm the king of debt, right? So, that's where some of this shit's coming from. China has a deflation problem. That's good news for the West, according to analysts. That's like goods are going to be so cheap, and we're going to have a big Christmas because everybody's going to be buying it. The good news is from the West, which could import some of the deflation back home. Analysts say because when you do buy goods from there, they're going to be cheaper than they were, right? And again, I usually will save this for our Friday Eye, but I got to tell you guys, I want this burned into people's brains. Think about it. I want this burned into people's brains. Technology is always deflationary. Innovation is primarily a driving force of deflation, of prices going down, of the and again, think about the computer you buy. The computer you can buy for $3,000 compared to the computer you could buy for $3,000 in 1985. You understand that, like in 1985, you could get a Mac 2, a 128K Mac like the one I've shown you that is literally on my shelf right there, that had 128K of RAM, didn't have a hard drive. You had discs, physical discs you could put into it, right? And now for $3,000, you could build a gaming computer that can run literally virtual reality environments in it. So, no, it's a great analogy. Which one? Big floppies. Floppies are a bad analogy? All right, fine. Yeah, it'd be a welcome deflationary restraint for the West. Yeah, I'll tell you where it will help. Retail therapy. An Apple IIe. Oh shit. So I just found we were moving some of our stuff in storage, and I just found my two CIs. I have two Mac 2CIs, and hi, hold on. You gotta love Facebook. No. Block user, go away. You big weirdo selling miracle cures. Get fucked, you pseudo-scientific fakery bullshit guy. Sorry, I had somebody on the Facebook chat that was like, this doctor in the Congo sent me a special tincture that cured my HIV and liver disease at the same time. Oh, the Mac 2CI was great because it was the first one you could put an audio card in. That was huge. I remember buying my first hard drive for that because I was editing. I was doing bits. I knew I could move production home, and I was working on a Disney show producing comedy segments for them through another production group who I would later find out did not credit me. It was a Disney show called Umba Matumba, and it was like a kids show, and there were commercials. It was like a radio show done from the Congo or something like that, and it was all about animals and that kind of stuff. And they were, it was a nature show, but it was a little bit funny, and they did it from this kind of treehouse. It was great, but they did it like a radio show, so they wanted commercials, and they wanted visuals to go with the commercials. So Disney has all this royalty-free video from the 60s from these movies they made, movies about a penguin that found its way across the United States, and Nick Nolte is in one of these things as an extra, shit like that. And so they would give this, love you, Hal. I put the to increase engagement. Yes, thank you, KJ. You should do that. Yeah, if you're on Facebook, you should use the angry face about my show in the emoticons that they allow you to use, just because the angry one boosts me. It's so stupid. Anyways, I cut those things together, and I made things like, ads for Vidal Baboon hair products where they just have the apes doing that, and I did a jingle for it and shit like that. And I couldn't afford to go to a studio and do these things, nor could they afford to do it on their production end at this low end. So I set up a thing at home where I could record at home, and I had a 4-track recorder, 2 in, 2 out. That was it. And I could only record stereo 1 track at a time. I could only record 4 tracks, and then I had to bounce shit to make that. So Chris Bono and I My buddy Chris Bono and I just like labored in that basement for 2 fucking years straight on that 2CI. That thing was and and again, I was totally underpaid and it was, ridiculous. But it developed, the skills that I needed to be able to, you know, when I got to, believe me, when I got to Talk Soup, they were like, I don't know, how do we do a sketch where it goes? I'm like, I'll write it tonight. I'll record the song this evening. So, anyways, here we go. This is back to where we were about the myth of this thing. This is the other thing. Lawmakers call for raising tariffs and severing economic ties with China. A bipartisan report recommended stripping China of the low tariffs the United States granted it 2 decades ago, among other actions. And again, Sakara Assembly and many of the report's recommendations may never be adopted, but it could provide a path towards some bipartisan legislation on China in the months to come. It will. And I'll tell you why. Because no developing nation has a space program. Once you have a space program, you're not a developing nation anymore. Because if you still have areas that are underdeveloped, but you've decided to take on a space program, that's your ass. Because you can piggyback on the rest of the shit. It's not like you need to conduct your own experiments. Yeah, 60K, woohoo! So there you go. Anyways, and by the way, if anybody feels like super chatting, like $6 for the 60 or the 60 for that 60, that's fine. You can do that. Venmo, support the show. All right, I'm not gonna do that. I gotta get off. I'm gonna end up doing a fucking whole show and I can't do it. Okay, this will be the final one. Chinese leaders vow they're gonna do it eventually. They took a solemn vow, which isn't a vow, they just said it, to step up support for flagging economy. Now, when I was in China, the panda is the national animal of China, and I was like, it should be the crane, because everywhere I was there early in the 2000s, in the millennium, after the millennium, there were cranes going up everywhere. They were just building and building and building and building and building. Here's what you know. Okay, those apartment buildings you've seen that I've shown you with ghost cities, and maybe you've seen them. If you haven't, it's a rabbit hole worth. Yeah, they vow. That's what they did. Celery. They did. They vowed. They show you like these kind of half-made buildings that are empty, or these shitty apartment buildings, and rows of them are empty. You know what that doesn't show you is that building is 80% empty. The big shiny glass buildings are empty. You know how I know that? I was in them at all times of the fucking day. And again, look at the traffic. That's a great point. No one walks on the streets in China? Well, yeah, they do. Tell me that is a city. Because this is, where were we? Yeah, this, I don't know if this article shows more of it, but does that look like traffic in a city that allegedly has 38 million people in it? 35, I guess. Seriously. Even what percentage of people would have a car to have traffic that fucking light? And by the way, we almost never got caught in traffic. And the only time when I was in China, when we were filming, the only time we ever got caught in traffic was when the intersections were jammed up with scooters. Right. There were just people on shitty little scooters getting everywhere, and it just filled the street. And they outlaw them in some areas, so it was only in a couple of cities that happened. Yes, Toledo has more traffic. And Toledo is less than 1 million people? Yeah, they've got to slab it. That's the only option.
You have to slab it.
Right. And meanwhile, I would like to say for the record that this Trump thinks that this is how we should run our economy. And why wouldn't he think that? Because half his buildings, or all of his buildings, are half full at best.
Here I am like an idiot.
Right? Shit, he made up 10 floors in one of his buildings, and the vacancy was still bad. the shit? All right. Anyways, all right, thank you guys for jumping on with me today. I'm gonna leave and go do regular shit that I have to do on Tuesdays. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else, and I will see you this afternoon for the regular show. And you're awesome. And today I want to wish Ethan a happy birthday, and I will do my best, my level best to make it happen. As a matter of fact, part of what I'm doing today is manual labor on his computer. I'm literally we're gonna install his new CPU. And it's the fun part. It's where you're actually putting the actual chip onto it's super fun. It's like, yeah, maybe I'll post a picture. Maybe I won't. I don't know. I wasn't even supposed to be on today. Honest to God. I mean, seriously, if you really think about it, it's just.
I like fighting number 2. We had a wet vaccine. The past wasn't that long ago. We have to slab it.
Asshole. Fluffy pillows kiss my ass.
He can do things with his tongue you wouldn't believe.
Asshole.
PP2. Purge the anti-Semitism and pro-terrorism. What you're doing? China, don't buy. None of you buy. TPP2. Peace through strength on the earth beyond. Don't touch my hands because they're dirty.
Asshole.
De-engineering. They said, oh. Michigan gave us Motown, gave us the Mustang.